Good evening, and welcome to Live. All right, I am one of your hosts, Miss Candace Cooper, and with me tonight is.
Brandon Cooper.
And of course, you guys, I am. For those of you who kind of follow me on social media, you'll see that I've. There I am. There's my name, but I'm not sitting there. I'm off screen tonight because I am not feeling very well. I am truly under the weather. So I tell you what, asthma will not let me be great in my 40s. So I have been an asthma sufferer since I was a little girl. Probably diagnosed in elementary school, and I tell you what, it came back with a vengeance in my 40s. I don't understand what's going on. I didn't have it for about 20 years, and then all of a sudden it just hit me. I'm off screen, but so hopefully
So y'all stuck with me.
you think you'll be able to handle it.
No problem.
All right. You guys, we have a really, really good topic for us tonight, but before we get there, we're going to talk a little bit about the news.
All right, guys. So we'll start out with our sports. First of all, I want to say congrats to the Texas Rangers for the first time in their team history. They won the World Series, and they won it very handily. They took care of business, swept the Arizona Diamondbacks. They've been partying in Dallas, and they even took out of school. They let school out, and so I know some parents were upset with that about that, but I'm sure the kids were very happy. So we're hoping that our Dallas Cowboys can follow the Texas Rangers up and give them a reason to let school out again. But congrats to the Texas Rangers. Awesome work. Congratulations to the entire organization. Next up, my Texas Longhorns. They got a victory this weekend, 33-30 over the Kansas State Wildcats in overtime. The Purple people from Kansas always give us a difficult game, so that was no shock to me. We are currently 8-1, and we play that other Purple team this coming up weekend on Saturday at 6:30. TCU, they give us trouble all the time as well. So good luck to the Longhorns. They're in a good place right now, and they actually in first place in the conference and really pretty much control their own destiny at this point. So we're wishing them all the best. Our Colorado Buffaloes, they lost another tough one this week to 12th ranked Oregon State, 26-19. Their record now is currently 4-5, and they got three more games against Arizona, Washington State, and Utah. All going to be tough games. Their conference is very tough this year, and so they're fighting an uphill battle. They're trying to get two more wins to get to 6 to be bowl eligible. So we're wishing them all the best. Coach Prime, we with you. I know a lot of people done jumped off the bandwagon. I haven't. I knew this wasn't going to be an easy year for them. Not crazy, but we're excited about the journey and not what they're currently doing. It's a journey, guys. It's a marathon. I know as a coach, it takes time to build a program. Similar to what we've done here. So nobody's crazy. Nobody thought Prime was going to go there in his first year and just go out there and be dominant, top 25 team the entire year. Nobody thought that. I mean, whoever thought that, they really don't know how difficult it is to put a program together like that. This is truly about recruiting, and you got to get the best kids out there. You got to get some of the top kids in the country, and Prime is clear. He got some amazing talent when it comes to receivers. His quarterback, his corners are good. He got some decent people in those positions, but you got to be good in the trenches. So Prime got a lot of work to do. We're with him, all right, and we wish him all the best. And my Dallas Cowboys, man, I was amped up for this game, and it just didn't quite go the way we wanted it to go. Dak had an amazing game. Could he have done a few things different? Sure. But overall, They played a good game. It just wasn't enough. You got to have some bounces go your way. You got to have a little bit of luck when it comes to this thing, too. There was multiple fumbles by the Eagles. We didn't get any one of them, and a big part of our defense has been turnovers, and we just didn't get one of them. There was other things that happened during that game. A lot of things happened in that game, a lot. But we just didn't pull it off, and so we had a loss 23-28. Eagles got that victory at home in Philadelphia, and so we will see them again in Dallas in December. And guys, I'm not gonna lie to you, I think Dallas played the better game. They just, hey, it's just when it comes to a team like the Eagles, I will give them all the credit in the world. They are extremely resilient. And you have got to take advantage of any opportunities they give you. And so we'll see them again. We're currently 5-3, second in the conference. We're about 2.5 games behind them now. So the Eagles, they're in a good spot right now, but it's a lot of football to play, guys. And so I'm not worried about that at all. I think my Cowboys are starting to get on the right track. They just got to learn how to finish games. All right? So with that being said, we are past the sports. My wife, do you have any news on your end tonight?
I actually do. I have one news story, you guys. I'm going to try to get through this without coughing. So please bear with me again if you're just now tuning in. I am here, but I am off camera. I tell you what, I have taken every probably over-the-counter medication and hot toddies and Cooper, before you came, honey, I was telling the world I took a hot toddy that's been marinating since the spring. And so let me tell you, man, it was delivered over here in a salsa jar. And so it's been literally marinating since the spring. So if I say something, I said I don't know if I don't know if I'm healed or numb, from the neck down, but something is certainly moving and grooving, and I feel like it's a fire inside of me. But so if I don't, if I'm not my normal self tonight, blame it on the hot toddy. All right, and if you don't know what a hot toddy is, y'all look it up. Don't make me laugh now. I can't. This coughing spell will come on me. But anyway, with that being said, you guys, Keith Lee. I don't know if you guys have heard of the food critic Keith Lee. He is making rounds, you guys. He has made it all the way to CNN and some of the major news networks about what he has done. So let me tell y'all a little bit about him. And I just found out about the guy, honestly, in the last couple of days. I think since I've been sick, I've been really looking at some of these folks. And so Keith Lee is actually a fighter. He used to fight, or maybe he still fights, but he's a young man who decided that he wanted to go around and just start kind of critiquing restaurants. And let me tell you, he does an awesome job with his critiquing, because his critique is not to it's actually to market the restaurants and to help them. So what he does is he goes to different cities, he goes on a tour, and he sends in his family member. So they don't see him, right? But they send in a family member. And he orders the food, and then he sits in the car, or he goes back to his hotel room, house, whatever, and he eats the food. And then he gives his honest critique of the food. And so he is pretty famous on most of the major social media platforms. Again, y'all got to look him up. His name is Keith Lee. And so here not too long ago, about a week or so ago, he actually went to Atlanta. And he went around to Atlanta, and it was very interesting. He actually visited the Old Lady Gang. That's Candy Barris, if you guys were Escape fans from back in the day, or maybe watch a little Real Housewives of Atlanta. She has a restaurant called our Old Lady Gang. So he went there, and let me tell you, he goes to these restaurants because people will email him and tell him to go in, and he wants to have a real regular person experience. He doesn't want to be treated like a celebrity. He wants to be treated like a regular person. So he goes into the Old Lady Gang, and they tell him that it's going to be basically over an hour wait. He said he tried to order the food, to go, because he normally orders his food to go. He doesn't, dine in. And they said they don't dine in. They don't have order to go. You cannot order your food to go. So typically the wait is anywhere between an hour to 2 hours. And so anyway,
try.
without giving it all up. Apparently, so anyway, Candy Bears came online and she explained what was going on. But when they found out that it was Keith Lee who was trying to go into the restaurant, this is what was interesting. Then they said, "Oh well, we'll have your table ready in 5 minutes." And so he was like, "Wait a minute." Instead of sitting me, sit some of these people who've been waiting much longer than I am. So anyway, y'all, it became viral because he went to several restaurants in Atlanta. I mean several, and apparently that is how Atlanta does it. They don't do to-go orders. The wait is typically an hour to 2 hour wait, and it's kind of acceptable. So anyway, I bring that up, you guys, because that's just not common to me, And of course, I've been into the Atlanta before. It's been a while, but I know that the scene, you're gonna dress to impress. It's a lot of people doing well and are thriving, and I know that most of the outings and events that you go there are pretty social in nature. To where you're gonna, it's more of an event, if you will. But it was just really interesting. So Ocho Cinco came out and he was just he was actually kind of talking bad about Keith Lee, and he was like, he should go to some of the major chain restaurants instead of going to some of the mom and pops, because that's what he typically goes to, is mom and pops. And Ocho, not knowing Keith Lee, not realizing it, he helps these people with marketing. He gives them an honest critique of the restaurant, and then once he gets his honest critique, most people ends up going. And so there were a couple of restaurants that hadn't really had great food, but not a lot of people would actually attend in Atlanta. And I tell you what, after he goes and gets like his honest, assessment of the food, lines, I'm talking about lines, cars, like they literally sold out. It was a pizzeria that the guy was just thanking him for, for coming and doing what he did, because he is actually helping to market for these mom and pops. So anyway, check it out, you guys, if you get a chance. Keith Lee is his name. I think he's doing something. He has a very interesting way of doing it. He has very dry kind of comedy. But anyway, interesting story, because what it brought out is the Atlanta, restaurants and like the type of service. Even Cardi B came out. Several people kind of came out, because the bigger picture here is the service in Atlanta is 1 to 2 hours. That's how long it's gonna take before you get your food. And
Trash.
No to go. Why you looking like that, Coop?
Trash. There are restaurants like that here too. I mean, where it's understood when you go in there, you're gonna be waiting, especially if you go on certain days, go on a Sunday to some of the
more popular, even chain,
popular. Yeah,
but not even chain. I mean, a lot of the
go pop those on the Sunday. You might be waiting a little while. I don't know. So it's just it's restaurants like that. But that's not accepted to me. If I'm hungry, I'm gonna get in my car and go somewhere else. So
and it's also, they don't really do reservations either. And so, but they did say, like, if you're a celebrity and so forth, they'll seat you.
Of course they will.
You'll get seated there.
So if you're somebody, you can get to the front of the line. That's basically what I heard there.
There you go. But anyway, that's all I have for news, you guys. Y'all just continue to keep me in your thoughts. I tell you what, I felt so bad the other day. I said, "Ooh, I believe this is the Lord trying to take me on in." But no, it wasn't time, Coop. I wasn't gonna take it. I was gonna fight back.
Me with all these bills.
Well, let me tell you something.
It's rough out here.
I'm sure it'll probably be somebody that will come and try to help you. Then I'd have to come up and fight both of y'all. So
okay, all right. Let's get on to this story. That's the cue to get on to this topic. Topic of the day. Let's
topic
go.
of the day. Let me get now. Hold on. I got my little topic of the day. There we go. Today's topic, you guys.
All right. So today's topic: when parents aren't on the same page. When parents aren't on the same page. So there's a huge discussion. There's a huge for this new generation. It's a huge decision as you get with your mate, and you start making all these plans, these forever plans when it comes to life. A huge part of that is are you going to have kids? And if you are going to have kids, how many kids do you want to have? Back in the days, people had a lot of kids. I talked to my grandfather, who was the main. It was really the only male in my life, true male in my life. I talked to my grandfather about a lot of this stuff growing up, and when he had my grandmother when they had their kids, um, back then kids it was good to have a lot of kids, boys, girls, whatever, because these kids helped the parents to make money. Okay. So these kids got up at young ages and they got in the fields and they learned to work. They put in work. Okay. The more kids you had, possibly the more money you could make because you could get out there as a family and bring in more product. Whether they was working, whether they was doing peas or corn, whatever they was doing. You could get more product in at the end of the day because you had more hands. Makes sense. You could get more done. In a farming type family. Well, that's not the case anymore. In today's world, ain't too many people farming around here that I know. And so, you know, other than people that have their own businesses, a lot of these kids are just they're depending on you to take care of them, and they're really not. Most of these parents really aren't using or their kids in some type of way to help bring to the family. Okay, so that is the difference in our generation and the generations way back before us, and so now, you start to wonder, should I have kids at all? First of all, and if I do decide to have kids, how many? How many kids should I have? And would this be a good thing for me and the mate that I have chosen? Okay, so here we go.
So let me just say.
Go ahead.
Let me just say also real quick, you guys, like you talked about historically, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how a lot of, people had a lot of children to help out, with the family.
Mm-hmm.
Well, nowadays it's kind of the opposite. Mm-hmm. It costs too much.
Yes, that's right.
These kids cost a lot of money.
That's right.
I don't know, somebody may know off the top of their heads, but I remember I looked it up. In the lifetime of a child, they were saying if you were going to have it, was way up into the 30, 40, 50,000 or something like that, just to get them up to age 18. Actually, more than that.
Way more than that.
It's way more than that.
You way down on that number.
Let me see. I'm gonna Google it right now.
Please.
Cost to raise. I'm googling it right now, you guys. This is hot off the press. Breaking
Buy a kid a car.
Cost to raise a child at 18. On the average, raising a child from birth to age 18 now, the cost is $237,000, $482. Let me say that again. 237, 482. That's $237,482. That is how much these jokers cost. Now let me tell you something. So if you have one, you talk about that's on the average, so we're saying about $250,000, right? You have more than that. Come on now, that starts to add up.
Times 2, times 3.
Times 2, times 3, times 4. So nowadays, I think it's a little opposite. I think, I'm running into, especially the generation after us, we're in our 40s, but that 20 and 30-something-year-old generation, a lot of them are choosing not to have children.
Right.
We're hearing that more and more. So just wanted to throw that in there. So it's, and the good news is, though, people are having these conversations.
Yeah. And so here we go. I'm going to throw a few scenarios out there, guys, and this will tell you if your best bet is to have kids or if it's to have dogs, okay? Because you can have a dog, and it ain't the same, Yeah, well, I don't even want to say that because people spending a lot of money on dogs these days. But anyway, here we go. Let's talk about these kids. Let's talk about a few scenarios. Like, share, subscribe, guys, as we're talking, guys. Please help us out. Um, if, and I'm saying this as if you have not had kids yet, okay? All right. So for y'all, cause I don't want. I know this is some of these scenarios are gonna touch on some people. So brace yourself, okay? And don't take it personal. It's just real. If you plan to be that parent that allows your kid to do everything when the other parent has said no, y'all might want to reconsider having kids. I'm going to say that again. If you are the parent that plans to allow your kid to do everything when the other parent has already said no, y'all might want to reconsider having kids. If you are that parent that's just going to be free with your kid, I'll let my kid experience everything. I don't want to be that disciplinarian. I don't want to be that person that gets on them all the time and is, a helicopter mom or a helicopter dad. I don't want to be that person that's all over them all the time and just getting on their nerves. But you got with a person that's more of a disciplinarian. He's gonna be structured, or she's gonna be structured. She's gonna be on this. She's gonna keep them on a schedule. She's gonna tell them no. She gonna go get that switch like her grandma used to do with her. Oh no. See, if you that person, because that's called splitting. See, if as this kid get older, that kid gonna know. I can't go to daddy for this. I can't go to daddy for nothing. I'm always going to go to mom because I know mom is going to say yes. Or I can't go to mom for this. I'm always going to go to daddy because I know daddy's little girl, she gonna get what she want. See, what that does is it causes a rift between the couple. So now this kid becomes more important than your spouse, your girlfriend, whatever. This kid is, whether you want to admit it or not, running your household. Because you make decisions based off what this kid wants to do versus what you two have come together and said is going to be done. This kid has control. Do some of y'all know about that? Some of y'all. We're gonna touch some people tonight. We're gonna touch some people tonight.
So here's the deal. Opposites attract. That's just the way it works. When you have a couple, that decide that they want to bring in a child, or maybe it happened by accident, but oops, here we have a child is now in the picture. Okay. 9 times out of 10, people are not having these types of conversations. Okay. They're not really sitting down and talking about their parenting style. Because where do we all learn how to parent? We typically learn how to parent from when we grew up as children. So our parenting styles are typically, when some agree, are going to come from how we were raised. And most of the time, you have 2 individuals who have either planned to have a child or, oops, and here we are with this kid. But they may not have had conversations about how they were raised, because typically that's where we first learn about parenting. Parenting doesn't come with a guidebook, but it's based on what we observed as a child. It's either going to be what worked for us when we were growing up, or it's going to be what we observed that didn't work for us. And, of course, we're now wanting to do the opposite. Would you agree?
I do agree with that, but I feel like that's for those parents as these issues are coming up to sit down and discuss. You have to discuss these things, and in some form or fashion, you got to get on the same page. Because if you don't get on the same page, nothing's going to get accomplished. The only person that's going to be winning in this situation, and it might not be winning because they might be lacking when it comes to what really needs to be done to make them successful or keep them safe, is the kid. The only person that's going to really have control is the kid in this situation like this. Now, I can say this right now. Me and Candace are sitting here. I have a son that I came into this situation with. He grew up in Crockett. My daughter, of course, me and Candace have raised together. We have totally different parenting styles. And
100%.
Totally different parenting styles. And Candace, she is the one, of course, that Jay is gonna go to. I'm more stern. I'm more. Here's the deal. So, there's a lot of parents out there, and this was something that we grew up with too. We did grow up with this. How many? Oh, let me ask you. I know I did. How many of y'all grew up figuring out a lot of things about life on your own? Because parents didn't talk about those things back then, especially in the black families.
Yeah,
parents didn't talk about a lot of these things that we are willing to talk about now.
Yeah.
It just didn't talk about those things. So you grew up learning about sex, learning about finances, learning about credit, learning about a lot of things that honestly, college, my family really didn't talk about, even though all of my mom and all my aunts, they all went to college, but they just didn't talk about it. So how many of y'all grew up learning about these things from other people instead of learning it from your actual parents?
Right, and see, that's your experience, whereas my experience was quite the opposite. My mom and dad were pregnant with me at 16, had me at 17. So I grew up and learned a lot with them together, if that makes sense. So whereas, you had more of a traditional, I would call it a traditional upbringing. For me, it was quite the opposite because we had those conversations. We probably had conversations that most people are embarrassed to talk about with their children, but we openly talked about those things, just like we're having these conversations now. So we had a I would say, me growing up, those conversations were not taboo. They were more so, we would talk about drugs and sex and, in anything. There was no topic of conversation that was off the table. And so that's how there was, and I think now it's been a blessing, because, I learned about some things at home. And my mom's whole thought process was, I'd rather you hear it from me than you have to go out in the streets.
That's great. And then stay right there. Stay right there before you go from there. So my whole thing with that is, and I totally agree with that, I would rather be the one telling my kid all these things because I'm going to tell them in a way that's going to be from a person that cares and not a person that's trying to lead them down the wrong path. So I'm going to actually tell them in a way that's going to hopefully give them some knowledge, but also, keep them safe, and so I would rather tell those things, and I don't like the whole idea of you got to learn these things on your own. I don't like that. I think that there are some things that kids just aren't gonna believe until they learn on their own, but I don't like the idea of a kid having to figure out these things on their own. I don't like that. And so when they do those things, my whole thing is why go through the point of making these mistakes because here we go, parents. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make this thing easier on you. Because when these kids go out here and they learn on their own and they make these mistakes, then you got to come clean it up. What does that mean, Coop? Glad you asked. You got to go spend your money on those mistakes. You got to go step out here and defend them in situations that they done got into. You got to go stand out here and make sure that this boy ain't showing up when you done told her to stay her ass away from him. You gotta make sure that she don't. God dang, you watching them go through all these things that you were capable of keeping them away from, but because you decided to let them learn on their own. One of the parents, anyway.
And I'm gonna rock the boat a little bit here. I'm gonna, I always like to throw this in. So it's one thing to talk to them about the experiences you had as growing up, and to talk to them just from a wise person. But it's another,
not just experiences you had, but also the stuff that you've seen.
Right,
you live more life than them.
Correct, from a wisdom. That's the wisdom standpoint. Yeah. But it's another, especially as they get to teenagers. This is what I know. When you're dealing with a child, okay, a elementary age kid, toddlers, they're gonna, if you tell them don't cross that street because you're gonna get hurt, they're typically gonna listen to you. They won't cross the street, right? But the older the kid gets, once they become teenager, and especially nowadays with all these devices and they have access to the internet, it's going to come to where now, they're at a point to where they're kind of testing a little bit. It gets a little more, parenting gets a little more trickier the older they get because the more access they have. And where I'm going with this is one thing as a parent to offer them guidance, and also to provide your expectations. And then to also tell them, these are what I expect, these are the rules of the house, so forth and so on. But then it's another to try to, and we've had these conversations, put your experience that you had on your child. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I didn't have a great high school experience. So I know one of the, I would say, challenges that I had is as a parenting a young woman, is trying to put my experiences on her. Does that make sense? Meaning, hey, when you get to the 9th grade, this is what's going to happen. You're going to have this, And I think at one point we had to sit down and she and I sat down and had this conversation. Like, she's like, but just because that happened to you, Mom, doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to happen to me. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, of course it makes sense. But, I mean, she's aware. So you've already changed the chances, the possibilities of that happening to her because she's aware of what happened to you. Right. So because you sat down and you had that conversation with the child about something that might have occurred in your life, now I can see that possibly coming before it actually happens. And it creates an opportunity for them to avoid that happening in their life. That's it. That's what I'm talking about. But it just needs to be something that also is being talked about between both parents, because if it's not, there's a rift, there's a split. And that's what we want to avoid. We want to avoid the kid saying, okay, since Mom said this happened in her life, and I don't need to do this because it happened in her life. Well, let me go talk to Dad. And I want to go get this from him because that can allow for me to get to do what I want to do. And if Mom and Dad haven't talked about this, if they hadn't communicated, then bam, it's an easy split. Right,
and kids are master manipulators.
Yes,
they really are. Kids are master manipulators.
Only if we allow them to be.
Right,
Only if we allow them to be.
And they want to.
If you're on top of it, you can beat a kid. A kid is not smarter than you, parents. You let them be smarter than you. You've been around this world way longer than they have. You saw their ass come into this world. So when you say the kids are manipulators, well, hell, you let them be the manipulator. Don't let them be the manipulator. You run your house. No kid is supposed to run your house.
I think where it starts to get tricky is when the parents are not on the same page and they don't agree. See, because here's the deal. Parents can have a goal set for their kids that they want to accomplish, right? But they may not necessarily be on the same page with how to get to that goal. And so I think all parents, everybody that's listening, if you're a parent or you know...
Well, throw an example out there.
Everyone wants their child to graduate from high school. Okay, at least. All right, go somewhere and get an education.
So
But they may disagree on what school. Maybe one parent wants them to go to a private school, whereas another parent wants them to, go to a public school. Those types of things.
Okay.
So you also know both parents wants the kid to be safe. Whereas one parent may say, hey, I think safety means not giving this child a phone that's a 12-year-old. And another parent may say, well, hey, I think safety is giving the kid a phone because I can now monitor what the kid is doing and be able to contact them.
Do any of y'all know any 12-year-olds that don't have a phone now? Just being truthful. Just being real.
I actually...
This is a different world. I don't know no 12-year-old that don't have a phone.
Most kids in elementary, but the phone is that's a big thing now.
Yeah.
That's like a big thing, and I can see in some parents are hey, the kid wants to have a phone, and what? Parents are using these phones and iPads and all this stuff to babysit too. So, kid wants to have a phone. One parent says, well, no, and the other one says yes.
The babysitting by electronics, I have a major problem with that. If you give your kids electronics to occupy their time, and they're not, look here, some things don't need to change. When I grew up, I had to get out there and use my hands and work with my grandpa. I had to do some physical work, but I also played sports as well. If your kid is not doing any physical work, with most of y'all, especially that live in the city, unless you got some kind of trade where your kid is learning your trade with you by going out with you or working at home with you through your trade, most of them kids ain't doing no work. They ain't doing no work now. So if you don't have them doing something that keeps them physical, doing something physical, some kind of physical work, I got a problem with that. And to me, you're setting them up to be a wimp.
Well, so here you go. Not all kids are physical. All right.
They need to be physical.
So I understand there should be some
got a class
physical
called
activity.
physical education.
That's it. That's correct. But not all kids want to be physical.
It ain't about what they want. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
So herein lies the problem, right?
Try.
So you have some kids that maybe they're into chess. Maybe they want to be on the chess club as opposed to playing basketball, or maybe they would prefer being in the book club. I don't know, just throwing it out there. But maybe they're just not physical in nature.
And what is one of the main problems that us as African Americans, I can speak about us.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna talk about nobody else.
Well, it's Americans, period.
Well, I'm not gonna talk about nobody else. I can talk about who I am. What is one of the main problems that you and I are slowly trying to work on right now?
Obesity. Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, I don't care if you like chess. I don't give a damn if you like the glee club, choir. You gonna have to learn to be physical at some point in your life.
So what if
do you want to learn to do it early? And try to maintain it or find a way back to it? Or do you want to learn for the first time to try to be physical as a 40-year-old? Now, if you want to do it at 40, I can tell you now, it's going to be harder on you than it is on me right now. And I'm getting my ass kicked for y'all that follow me on Facebook. Every morning I go in there to Coach Mo. He kicking my ass. He's turning me up, trying to get myself back in shape like I used to be. Trying the things that I used to be able to go into a gym and do with no problems. I struggle now. I walk out of there exhausted and then got to go to work because I went so long without doing it for myself. I do it for these kids every day as a coach.
So you're saying that you believe 100% that every kid, regardless of how they feel, think, believe, should have some sort of physical activity outside of just PE.
Goddamn right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly what I'm saying. Absolutely.
In a generation of kids where they don't like going outside.
Take your snotty nose, eyeglasses self outside and learn how to do something. You gotta learn how to do something. My grandpa had me out there with them cattle. I had to learn how to put posts in the ground. I had to dig. We ain't have no cat. We ain't have no caterpillar out there digging it. I had to get what's called a post hole digger. I had to put that thing in the ground, open it up, and put that dirt to the side. Put that thing in the ground, open it up, put that dirt to the side. Put that post down in the ground. I had to pull that barbed wire tight
Now let me.
for them cows.
Now,
We had to learn how to do that. I had to haul hay and get red bugs all over me. Somebody's country that's gonna see this. You gonna know what I'm talking about. I had to get those red bugs all over me, those red dots all over you, all these bumps and stuff all over your back. I had all that back then.
Now you told me these stories, Brandon Cooper.
Yes, I did.
But let me tell you, you had the softest hands.
Because I took care of myself. I also like women.
So
I also like women.
your hands are real soft.
I like women my entire life.
Okay.
I told you I had problems.
That was the lotion then.
Yeah, hey, I took care of myself. Okay. I had problems, but
right.
I
just want to clarify because you know your hands really weren't the hands of a person.
There are people out there that know what I did. There are people out there that know. All my friends, you can ask my friends. I ain't got to lie. I was on the phone with you. I was still doing hay, but we were doing it on the tractor.
You was on the tractor.
Yeah. We didn't have no tractor back then. When I was growing up, we didn't have no tractor, and we did square bales. Ain't nobody putting those square bales on those.
Brian said you wore gloves.
Huh?
They must have been.
No. I didn't wear no gloves.
With the
I wish I wore gloves. My grandpa wouldn't buy me no gloves.
They must have had some lotion inside.
No, he wouldn't buy me no gloves. He called me soft because I asked for gloves when I came back from college. Oh boy, you done got cityfied is what he said. Yeah, because he said you ain't never asked for no gloves in the past. You done got cityfied down there in Huntsville. Yeah, Sam used to say. Hey, shout out to Sam U. All right, so let's get on to the next one. If you plan to be a parent that allows your kids to hold on. Let me see. I was reading the same one. If you plan to be a parent that says my kids wouldn't do that, you might need to reconsider having kids. Oh, I'm talking about that parent that every time somebody say they saw your kid talking bad to somebody, or they saw your kid pick up some candy in the store, or they saw your kid kissing somebody's son on the side of the school, or they saw your kid hit this little girl out there on the playground at the church. If they saw your kid talking bad to some adult, talking back, my kid wouldn't do that. How dare you talk to me like that? You don't tell me what my kid, you don't got nothing to say about my kid. Forget you. And forget is the word that I'm using instead of the other word tonight. If you that parent, if you know that that's going to be you might want to reconsider having kids. You might want to reconsider. If your kid ain't never did no wrong, then you forget, you will never, for those that believe in the village, you will never have a village for your child. There's some of y'all that are out there like that. I know you. I done had him on the track team. I done had him on probation. My kid would never do that to nobody. He shouldn't be on probation. And your kid the baddest school at that kid at that damn school. Your kid is the baddest kid at that school. And you still talking about what he wouldn't do. Your kid up there bullying people. Your kid up there using drugs. Your kid up there, boy, your kid that had more sex in the last month than you have. But you still talking about what your kid won't do. Now that's what I don't understand. Now I can honestly say, and you can ask my child. You can ask my child. If somebody told me that my child was bull coning, before I get to saying what my child wouldn't do, I'm going to go to my child, I'm going to say, hey, why the hell are they saying this shit about you? What did you do? What did you do? Your child ain't perfect. For all y'all that swear and believe that you had the perfect kid, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for you. You did not have no perfect child. Your child is going to make some mistakes too. Your child is going to laugh at the little special needs kid every once in a while. Your child is going to throw some food at lunch at school sometime. Your child might be that child that decides to go behind the choir stand and kiss a little boy at school. Your child might be the child that decides to take something out of somebody else's backpack at school.
All right.
What if your child ain't gonna never do those things?
Let me tell you something. I think during the quarantine, a lot of people figured out about their children. See, because when you have to spend time with them all day long,
they figured it out for a hot second, and then as soon as they went back to school, they done turned back to that other person.
That other person.
They couldn't wait to get their ass out the house when they was at the house. Please figure out. Y'all gotta get these kids back to school. They eat everything up. They talk noise all day. They don't want to come out their room. They don't want to get logged on for Zoom. They don't want to do nothing that these teachers telling them to do. I saw kids getting on them Zooms with hoodies on, laying down. I saw kids turn their Zoom on. Because I'm looking at Jay's. I saw kids turn their Zoom on and lay their ass back down in the bed.
You saw ceiling fans. Ceilings.
Ceiling! I saw the ceiling. The computer sitting down. The ceiling fan going. These kids didn't want to do that stuff. They didn't do nothing. And you saw that, parents. Every last one of y'all saw it. But the moment that school started back up, the minute that principal called you, how dare you say that about my child? My child wouldn't do that. If you are that parent, you might want to reconsider. If that's who you're going to be, you might want to reconsider having kids.
But wait now, I do believe in being an advocate for your child. But
every
you
last one of these people are. But at least talk to your baby first.
Right.
And figure it out for yourself.
You have to establish, in my opinion, with your kid that trust to where they know that they can tell you the truth. You know, and we had to go through that with our kids.
They still ain't gonna tell you everything.
They're not gonna tell you everything.
They ain't gonna tell you everything.
But my thing is, don't have me going off here and defending you, and you did something you weren't supposed to, because that's gonna make me even more upset. You know, and so I think the main thing is letting your kids know that, hey, you can be honest. You got to tell me the truth of what happened. You see. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah. I would agree, but it's just certain things that they're not going to tell you. If
course.
your daughter, for example, is the biggest hoe on the campus, she ain't going to tell you that.
No, of course not.
She's not going to tell now one of us that she's the biggest hoe on the campus. She's not going to tell none of us. The only way we going to find out is through other kids or other adults. When she either got caught or something done got put out there. Now in this generation, some got put out there in social media.
That's the reason why you have to have informants.
A what?
An informant.
Informant.
I had informants. Because you see, when you send your child to school, become those friends.
My wife just said something very key right there. Go ahead, Candace. Go ahead.
Those friends that your child is hanging with, what is it? Your enemy of my enemy is my friend, or whatever. I don't know to say it. Maybe that don't apply here. But what I'm trying to say is, those folks need to become your child's friend.
Hey.
And their parents need to become your friend.
My wife just said something very key there to when we're talking about parents being on the same page. And I want hold on, real quick. I want y'all to know. I'm gonna give y'all about 5 seconds. What did she say that was key? No, about 10 seconds. What did she say that was key in that whole thing? I'm gonna give it to you right now. She said, I have informants. See? We're talking about parents being on the... We're talking about parents being on the same page. My wife had informants. I didn't know her informants. See, so that's, guys, look, this is stuff that parents are going to go through. You know, parents are going to, especially when you like me and Candace, we are the total opposite. The total opposite. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you why this subject is so important. If you are not careful when it comes to these children, they will ruin your relationship. They will ruin your lives. They will ruin what you two said you was going to do when you went down that aisle and you put them rings on your finger. They'll ruin it. Because it ain't about putting your wife first or putting your husband first. It comes back to what I said at the beginning. That kid is running your household. So here we go. That one right there was that one is a deep one. I know it's a lot of people dealing with that one. What they feel like their kids won't do. Okay. Here we go. If you're the parent, watch this one, Candace. If you're the parent, thanks for y'all all for being with us. Thank all y'all for being with us. Listen to this. If you're the parent that buys your kids everything because you're always competing with other people, basically you want your kid to have more than their kids.
Oh boy.
You might want to reconsider.
You just stepped in it now.
Oh shit! I'm built to step in it. I'm built to step in it. This is what I do.
So you don't want your kids to be bullied, right?
If you buy your kids everything because you want your kids to always have more than everybody else around them, then you are setting yourself up to fail as a parent.
That's true. So, but when you walk out of this house, you represent us and how you look, you act, you feel, all that kind of stuff, right? So you're talking about that competition. Susie got, 20 inches of wig, or I don't know how they, bundles or whatever they call it.
Oh Lord,
And Susie has eyelashes.
Well, my kid gonna be participating in physical education if I had one now. So we ain't worried about a bunch of bundles.
And Susie has, all this here stuff. And then your kid comes home and says, well, Mama, why can't I have that? Susie wears it. She's in the 5th grade, 4th grade.
What have you... See, this ain't about what you can have. It's about what you have earned. If you handling your business, work comes in a different way now. The kid, like I said, kids ain't out there working in the gardens with their families anymore. So what are you making? Hold on. Come on now. Come on, Tanya. Creating little monsters. Sometimes the parents are the problem. Sometimes, damn near all the time, Tanya. Damn near all the time. Goddamn.
I'm going to tell you, our parents of our generation, I don't know what we were thinking about. I don't know what was going on. Because, I'm a little nervous. I'm in the schools, well, at least used to be in the schools all the time in my last job. And I will tell you, these kids have gotten extremely disrespectful. But when you look at them, they dress to the nine. They walking around, thousands of dollars worth of clothes on and shoes and jewelry, and I'm looking at them from head to toe.
Ooh, wait till they come back from Christmas. Wait till they come back from Christmas. And the crazy thing is, you gotta stand in line, or you gotta get out there for those Jordans. You gotta schedule that now. It ain't like it was when we were growing up, and they more expensive. What does Brian say? Let's read some of this stuff real quick.
Okay, let me go though. All right.
Read that. Can you read that, Cannon? Oh, it's under the thing. I can't see it.
Yeah, let me try.
Hold on. Oh, I can see it. I can see it on my phone. So I must have been good then because my kids didn't have the name brand stuff, but still looked and dressed better than ones that had nothing but name brand. Well, Brian, I can say this. I'll give you credit. You're a very clean cut guy, and you always have on nice stuff. So you're making it hard for me to believe by the way you carry yourself that your kids didn't have nice stuff. So, hey, and I'm not saying your kids don't deserve good things, but did they earn those things? Are you making them do things that says, hey, I'm proud of you. Let me go out and do something for you because you're doing a good job. If they're doing that, great, guys. But just going out and buying all these things because you're competing with somebody or because you just want your kid looking better than everybody else or blah, 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 blah. That's trash. That's trash. That's trash. All right? Shalandra. Here we go. There you go. Keywords. Earned it. Yes. Mines knew they had to earn. I'll bust my butt if you are doing what you're supposed to do. You damn right, Shalandra. Anything. I do anything for my kids. If they're earning it, get off your ass. My grandpa said, you cannot live better off my money than I do. That was his thing. He told me that. I asked that man, could I stay home from school? Daddy, I was sick. I don't feel good today. He say, so you don't feel good. And you gonna stay home in my AC. He had them, we had the window. Some shout out to those that know about a window unit. We had the window unit. He said, you gonna run that window unit all day long. You gonna sit in my chair and put your feet up all day long. You gonna run my TV all day long. You gonna go in and out my refrigerator. You gonna flush my toilets all day long while I'm at that job slaving. That means, son, you living out my money better than I do. When I get my ass up, you getting your ass up. That's what he told me. That's what he told me. When I don't feel good, son, I still got to get up and get to this job. I still got to find a way to go get it. Because if I don't go get it, then I don't bring it home. If he don't bring it home, then you don't have the luxuries that you have. So parents, if you got to get up and go to work, then why that kid sit their ass at the house? It don't make no sense. Mama, I came on my period. And I came on mine last week. I had to figure that out. The great legendary Carmen Carrera told me, Coach, I say, Coach, these girls, I got a team full of girls on my track club, and man, they got these periods, Coach, and I don't want to be disrespectful to these girls. I as a man don't know the pain that they're going through when they have these periods. But because I got a girl heavy team, so we trying to figure out, how do I encourage them to still train the way, come to practice when they're on their period, Coach, because that's a whole week of training that they missing, and I can't miss that week of training. He say, cool. He say if it was qualifying season, and it was time for nationals, would those kids still have to run? I said, yes, sir, they would. He said if it was state for high school, and those kids came on their period, would they still have to run? I said, yes, sir, they would. He said, because they ain't gonna make another state for them next week when they get out their period, right? I said, you sure right they ain't. He said, so if they gotta run, if they gotta compete with it, then why are they not training with it? You can't compete with it if you ain't used to training with it. You can't stay your ass at home. Get up and go to work. You gotta go to work too. Your work is school and whatever activities your parents have you in. Parents, there's no such thing thing as being too busy to get your kids in some type of activities. I don't care what it is. My wife is trying to make an argument for y'all that don't want to make your kids physical. Okay, well, you got to go get them in something. You go put them in violin. You go put them in piano lessons. They got to get up out that house and learn something. They're going to have to do something. If they are not playing sports, they should have great grades. Are they bringing any books home? Half the kids I talk to these days don't even have a backpack. If they had a backpack, it was just because it was cool to look like you got a nice backpack on the first day of school. You ain't got shit in that backpack. Ain't nothing in it. They don't bring no books home. You ain't doing no work. Yet I'm about to go spend $1,000 on you for Christmas. Man, get the hell out of here, man. Hey,
Yeah, see what happens.
try.
Boy, I tell you. I start feeling ill, and he just takes over live with the Coopers, and it becomes Salute the Real.
Hey. I told you I'm gonna hold it down regardless. I got my whiskey. This is another Salute the Real episode right here, baby.
You've turned it into Salute the Real.
I didn't say get your whiskey. I didn't tell nobody to get their whiskey tonight. That's for Wednesday, but I got mine. All right.
But let me say this real quick though before you move on. Parents, you have to talk to other parents too. Reach out and talk to other parents for that wisdom.
God.
I don't know if Hawk is still on here. Scott Hawkins, y'all. Shout out to Scott Hawkins. Hawk, if you're still on here, I'm off camera, but I'm watching. And Hawk mentioned something to me a long time ago. And see, Jay was only like 5 years old when he told me this. But he talked about taking the door to the room off the hinges, and he mentioned to me, he probably don't even remember that story, but I held on to that story for a long time. He said, the thing about it is you had to earn that door back. He talked about earning the door back to the bedroom.
Yeah. Oh, I thought some parents took their door off.
Took the door.
I would have took mine out. I would have took Jay's off. I just didn't know how to do it.
We didn't know how to do it. Hawk, I held on to that for all them years. Jay was 5 or 6 when you told me that about taking the door off the hinges, and I said, the moment she gets to the point, I'm gonna do that. That's gonna be something good I'm gonna do. And let me tell you, I didn't even know how to take it off, and I knew you didn't know how to take it off.
No.
I ain't even asked you.
If my grandpa didn't teach me, I didn't know, and I didn't know how to put stuff together or take it loose. So we didn't do that.
We didn't take it off. We didn't take it off the hinges, but I'm saying that because when he popped on, it reminded me of that story. Because let me tell you, you have to talk to other parents. You have to find somebody that you trust, somebody who has been through it before, where you can reach out to them and you can get that wisdom. We in this together, you guys, and we all want our children to be successful. We want our kids to be the best version of themselves, and in order to be able to do that, there's no there's no guidebook.
Yeah.
There's no guidebook, and the
there
generations.
Is some, but that don't mean it's gonna apply to your situation.
And so, you have to be able to reach out to parents who have been here, who've done it, who have successful children that have done well, and are doing good, are alive and well, and their own parents now. Like you have to, and that was one of my things. I love to reach out and talk to people who already had kids.
Tanya said that's exactly what I tell my kids when I leave the house. Everybody leaves. You goddamn right. They can't sit in your house. Even, man, during the summertime, y'all are still up going to work. They sitting in your house all day. I didn't agree with that. The only reason Jay got to stay home is because of track. She was coming out. When I came home from work, she was coming home. She was coming out. We were going to that field. And she about to go out there and run in that heat. So I wasn't tripping because of that. But I mean, I didn't, man, come on, man, just sitting in the house all damn day on the phones and iPads and all this stuff, like you said.
I don't mind. I don't mind.
She said, Coach told us that running helps the blood circulate. Right. Well, I don't know if that's true. Yeah, it do. I'm sure it does. I'll take that too, Tanya. Thank you for that. I'll take that too. I'll use that with my kids. Apple P. Kelly, backpacks got a phone charger and an iPad charger. Exactly. And a hoodie. That's what they do now.
98 degrees outside, 110 outside. They got a hoodie on. That's what they do now. That's all they got in there. That's all they got. They ain't got no boots in it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I went to school complaining about behaviors and these parents not working with these kids. Adrian Evans. Hey, you not no surprise to me, Adrian. You know how many kids I work with. School is not a daycare. You better preach. And neither is clubs. Clubs ain't a daycare for all you parents that drop them off and take off and be gone for 2.5 hours when we finish at 2 hours. All right. Here we go, Kelly. But when it's freezing, they got on shorts and t-shirts. Girl, you preaching today.
You know, I had to.
Hold on.
So I looked at these hoodies with these kids walking around with these hoodies and blankets on and stuff, and so they talked about they felt comfortable. It made them feel more comfortable that they actually it's a almost like a swaddle when you swaddle a baby. Like that is the feeling that the teenagers are getting. So that's what I said. So I went to the chief of police of the school district that I used to work with, and he said, "Well, Candace, whatever that was you read, don't believe it. It's a lie." He said to me, "That's what they're using to hide whatever it is that they don't want the teachers to know about." He was like, you know. So anyway, I'm just saying. That's what I was told.
Here go my final one. And finally, if you're the parent that's willing to risk it all, the moment your kid gets into an argument or fight with someone else, you might want to reconsider having kids. Now, this one is tough. Because there are situations to where your kid can be being picked on, bullied, your kid could just be, an innocent bystander in this situation just with the wrong people and end up getting jumped in some kind of way or something like that. And hey, for those situations, guys, look here. Let me tell you something. I'm the same parent. I am that one. I'm that nigga. I'm him. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I am him for my kids. Kobe called me right now. I'm on the way. Jaden called me right now. I'm on the way. Okay? So let's make that clear. If my kids are getting picked on in any kind of way, or they're in danger, I'm on the way. I'm coming. Matter of fact, I had to check myself. I'm gonna be honest with you. And this is me growing through this whole club situation. I had to check myself because in my mind, I had it in my mind that no matter which one of my kids was going through stuff like that, I'm on the way. But you don't have that same relationship with all those kids. That's what I had to learn. You don't have that same relationship. You don't know if they telling you the truth or not. You don't know if they started all that drama. So it's one thing to be on the way to get down for them. It's another thing to be on the way to get them out of the situation that they're in. And that's where I'm growing and I'm maturing as a coach. It's one thing to get to them if they call you, of course I'll come. If they in some situation with somebody and they're calling me to coach, can you come pick me up? Absolutely. Where you at? That's hands down. But what I'm talking about right now is that parent, no matter what, they willing to risk it all. Guys, the people that are on this show, most of y'all are friends of ours right now. We're still trying to grow this show, and it's gonna grow over time. I promise you. We hadn't failed in anything, so it's gonna grow. But for those that are truly paying attention, you know when your kid, at some point you got to know who your kid is. If your kid is a kid that's out there picking or putting themselves in situations where
they might catch them hands. Being 100 with you, they might catch them hands at some point. Some point, guys, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes catching them hands teaches them a better lesson than you can teach them any day. You know, if your son is one of them boys that loves to pick at girls all the time because he don't have no game and don't know how, he ain't matured to the point where he truly knows how to approach a young lady and talk to her in a civilized manner. He wants to pick her all day and get on her nerves, and she happens to have a boyfriend that bust him in his nose one time. Here you come out the car. That's trash. I'm gonna tell you why. Because your son is gonna understand. That's that moment that he's finally gonna figure out that the shit I'm doing to antagonize these women, these young ladies, that probably ain't smart. I need to get myself together if I'm going to try to approach women. And I also need to do a little research and figure out which women I can actually approach, because if that girl got a boyfriend, I need to leave her the hell alone. You see, you can't come running all the time, because if you come running all the time, they ain't gonna learn shit. You gotta let these kids learn. That's why I say you gotta let them learn a little bit, because they're never gonna figure it out if you always there to save the day. I talked about them she-rolls. Y'all are she-rolls and you got the men. They're the heroes. You want to protect that girl or that boy at all times. You don't want nobody saying nothing to them. You don't want nobody to do nothing to them. You don't want nobody to put their hands on them. And don't get me wrong, who wants to see their kid fighting? I sure don't. I don't want my kids to fight. Some of y'all send y'all kids to school to fight. That nigga put his hands on you, you better knock his ass out. When did you ever teach him to fight? My stepdad, one of my stepdads, that Negro told me one time when I was younger. This is when I was young. I wasn't nowhere like I am now. I was a little church boy that had never been in no fights and didn't know how to fight, didn't have a clue. Okay? That man told me, if you come back to this house crying about somebody picking on you again, I'm going to whoop your ass. You better whoop his ass. I don't know how to whoop his ass. You ain't taught me. Who taught me? Have you taught your kid how to do what you asking them to do? And do you know the consequences now of telling your kid to go to that school and do that? Do you know the consequences? Because it ain't the same as it was back in the days. Your kid 10 or older, he'll mess around and be down there at juvenile probation. I saw Shalandra on here. She used to be my boss. Shalandra, if you still over here, tell me if I'm lying. Your kid will mess around and be down there in detention hall. You'll mess around and be in that courtroom come Monday morning. It ain't the same. It ain't the same. You can't tell your kids stuff like that now. And you can't go running down there either. You have created a life for yourself. And now you're going to go out here and go jump on these people because they talking noise to your kid? When your kid might have started it? Get your kid out of the situation. Get your kid back home. Let the emotions go down. Then decide what you're going to do. If you act in that moment, you about to fuck up. And I'm going to tell you something. No matter how tough you are, you remember what I'm saying right now, because you might be ready to go up there and pull out them hands. But that kid that you talking about might have a parent that's ready to pull out that gun. It's different today, guys. And when people get to a certain age, ain't no such thing as fighting no more. It's some dudes that be in that gym when me and Candace are working out that we call cyborgs. We call robots. Oh, they jumping up there. They jumping up there doing pull-ups. They doing pull-ups. They doing all kind of stuff. Hey, they doing all kind of stuff. We in the bare basics. Basic training. We in basic training right now. Mo got kids. He got dudes in there. They're doing all kind of shit.
And they don't look like they can do all of this.
They don't look like it, but they off the chain with it.
See them walking down the street, be like, oh, that little old guy. You know.
Here's my point, though.
And
Here's my point.
And straight Drago from Rocky.
Yeah, and they are. But here's my point, though. He might be in better shape than me. He might even be stronger than me right now. But I got something in that. I got something in my nightstand. Shit.
So going back to
I got something in my nightstand. I got something in my nightstand that if he came over here right now, somebody got to put that black dress on. See? There's something out there for him. There's something out there for him. I don't care what muscle building contest he in. There's something out there for him. So if you ready to go up there and throw them things, or you ready to go up there and talk all the noise, they gonna hear me today. Okay, just understand. There's somebody out there that got something that's gonna make you be quiet. You gonna risk it all for this kid, and you don't even truly know the situation. If somebody hurts your kid, now you talking about an adult. Somebody hurt your kid. Somebody touch your kid in some kind of way they ain't look here. Totally different scenario. And hey, man, I'm the last one to tell you not to, because it's going to take everybody I know to stop me. So, hey, but just understand that there are certain situations where these kids can put you in a situation where you will ruin your life. You will ruin your life. And you'll be sitting back wondering if you're still alive. All that I did to get to the point that I was at. And I've given it all away. I've thrown it all away in this one moment. Behind a kid that's going to go on living their life while you sitting behind bars with an orange suit on or stripes. It's something to think about. I mean, am I wrong?
Sure, absolutely. But, when you talk about parenting is probably the most difficult job. It's very hard. It's not easy. Again, I talk about it all the time. Parenting does not come with a guidebook. You can go to all sorts of parenting classes. The moment that I got pregnant with Jay, I started looking up and attended several parenting classes on my own. I didn't know how to change a diaper. So from changing a diaper to just, understanding, I had the book, What to Expect When Expecting. And then I also ended up getting the book about, how she grows and what I should be doing and learning and looking for as a parent. But what I can say is when you are parenting with a partner, it's important for you guys to be on the same page. And I looked up and I thought, again, y'all, I'm not on the show because I'm not feeling well, but I'm trying to make it through. What I found that the experts say is to create a family plan. And because the main thing is to be consistent. And when you're not on the same page, the kids are smart enough to know what's going on. So what they said in this family plan is, how are you going to address issues that come up? And they talked about sitting down with your spouse, or maybe you're co-parenting, maybe you're no longer with this individual, but sitting down and talk about when issues come up that you don't necessarily agree with, how are the two adults in the situation going to be able to address it? And that's what the family plan should talk about. And it's actually online. You can find several templates online you can download, and you look at it like, oh, well, that's crazy. We don't want you. But I'm telling you, if you just sit down beforehand and have these type of conversations, because people are raised differently. Opposites attract. Oftentimes it's an oops, and here we are, we have this baby, so we're in this situation. In those moments, sit down and have the conversation, and I think that it'll save you and that other person a whole lot of years and years down the line of headache. As long as you don't have to be the same. No parent should be, because your kid is going to get something different out. But when you're addressing issues related to this child, it's important that you guys have had those conversations.
You said a lot of stuff, baby, right there. And you read a lot of stuff to say basically that the parents need to communicate.
Right, but I'm saying there are tools online that can help with the communication. You say communicate, but people don't know how to define that. See, communication is oral, and it's also you speak. And so what I'm saying is there are actually templates online to where you can download just how to have these conversations. Because it's not just about communication, it's how to have those conversations.
Gotcha.
It's important that you when you enter into this parenting scenario, and I wish I would have done it, to be honest with you. It could have helped us out.
Yeah.
But if we would have knew how to better communicate, I think that would have saved us a lot of, heartache and some pains that we went, challenges that we went through our parenting journey.
This has been the raising Jay has literally been the most difficult problem that me and Candace ever had. That's the one thing that we disagreed on more than anything. We didn't have no other problems. I mean, we've been pretty good. I mean,
we've been great.
The
thing is, I'm raising a female child, right? And I think if we would have had a male, it would have probably been a little different. But as a woman raising a young woman,
you would have made it tough with a male too.
Oh yeah, he would have been wearing bow ties and
No, he wouldn't.
But my point I'm making though is that it was challenging. Raising a child for us in the same home was a challenging experience.
And that's why we had one.
Because it may have helped if we had multiple.
Because
maybe
I'm done.
We wouldn't have had one to focus on.
Shit, no, I'm done.
But my point is that I think that in hindsight, like looking back, Coop was raised differently than I was.
Damn right.
We had different experiences, and that's most people. Nobody's going to be the exact same. Even if you grew up in the same town, you're not going to necessarily be the exact same. So what I think is the same way that we put into, training about our jobs and this type sort of thing, I really think that we need to approach parenting from a perspective of we're sitting down and let's do some research on how we're going to communicate. Not just we need to communicate, but how are we going to do this? When the tough times come up, how are we going to sit down and have these conversations to make sure that both adults on the same page, and therefore the child doesn't see the division? Because when the child sees the division, then the child knows which parent to go to for what.
Split. Exactly what I was talking about in the beginning. All right. So that's it.
We are over our time.
We over our time. So, any final thoughts, Candace?
Yeah, I think for me, you guys, my final thought is that there's a lot of information out there, and there's no reason why we as parents shouldn't be doing better. And I'm just going to say, having worked at a school district with 19 different schools, I saw some things out there that was quite scary. I observed and witnessed some things with parents and their interaction with their children, and also their interactions with each other that really opened my eyes to a lot. And, I honestly think that we should probably have every person that has a kid should have to go through mandatory parenting classes. But, hey, whatever. It is what it is. But I think you do need to spend the time when you have a child, when you're in this parenting, to actually look up and look to experts to actually help you through this parenting process. Because we are creating the next generation. These young people are going to grow up and they're going to become parents themselves. And there was just some things that honestly just kind of scared me with these kids. And so I wouldn't have never thought it until I was actually immersed at a district where you had a lot of issues with children but the fruit didn't fall too far from the tree. Is that the saying? Yeah. When it was the kids having the issues in school, oftentimes it was the parents.
That's a show that's coming, baby.
Yeah.
That show is coming. If you seen this kid having a whole lot of problems, then I promise you, if you dig deep, you go find out.
As soon as that mom or dad comes
You
in,
go find out.
you say, "Woo!"
If they got it from.
I know where they got it from.
You'll know. So, final thoughts for me. I wrote something down here. Having kids can be an amazing experience. There's nothing like the joy you feel watching them grow, learn, develop, and mature. But you as a parent only get one life. If you're not careful, you will spend that life living for your kids and forgetting to live for yourself.
And for all those out there that are still dealing with these adult kids and stressing yourself behind these adult kids, I really want you to, first of all, if you are a person of faith, pray about what it is that you need to do next, but also consider the fact that you deserve a life as well. If this kid has continued to put you in a situation where you are constantly trying to figure out what to do to make life better for them, and therefore you don't have time to work on you and your couple, your spouse, whoever they may be, then you are wasting a lot of your life focused on somebody else instead of yourself. And at some point, guys, you gotta learn to take care of you. And that's where, thankfully, the Empty Nest episode is coming soon.
Yeah, I gotta wait till I'm back well again. I gotta be on for that one.
The Empty Nest. Hey, look, we're so busy. We're so busy with projects and all this kind of stuff, still trying to figure out things for ourselves, that we truly ain't got out yet and really just enjoyed the Empty Nest thing, because we're just so busy with these businesses and trying to figure all this stuff out. We're still grinding, guys. I ain't gonna lie to you. We're grinding right now, but we are able to walk around in the nude. And that's a start. That's a start, guys. That's a start to a new life. That's a start to a life that I ain't had at no point in my life. And I am enjoying it. And I encourage you to do the same.
All right, and with that said, thank you for tuning in to another episode with Live with the Coopers. I apologize for being off screen this evening. I hope to join us next Monday. Please, if you liked anything that you heard today, like, share, and subscribe. I also noticed that we had some folks on YouTube joining us, so shout out to those of you on YouTube.
Shout out, baby. Shout out.
Yeah, thank you for joining. You guys, we are committed to this. Here I am. I'm on here coughing and everything, so y'all know we are committed. We are committed to having these conversations. But anyhow, enjoy your Monday. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And we will see you on Wednesday.
Salute the Real, baby.
At 8 p.m.
Please, go get your whiskey now.
Salute.